Before this video starts, I want to extend a massive thanks to Delightful Dork Audios for voicing Elizabeth in this video. Her channel link will be in the description as well as the links for all the other sources. Without her, I would not have been able to get this part out for you guys. So, without further ado, let's begin.
You arrive at the base of the cliff. The smell of ash from the fire that had engulfed the site fills your nose, despite wearing a face cover. You brought equipment to manually open the site's heavy gates. There's no need for them, though. The main gate is already open. It's a miracle that the main corridor hasn't caved in. Dark from the power being fried by the fire, you turn on the flashlight attached to your Remington R5. You enter the destroyed site in search of survivors, albeit the chances of actually fighting survivors are paper thin, perhaps even impossible. Your footsteps echo throughout the corridor, occasionally being drowned out by ash and debris. With each footstep brings dread. In your mind, you damn the High Council for sending you here. Each room you came across is incinerated beyond recognition. Whoever started the fire had clear intention of destroying the entire site. You wonder to yourself about who started the fire. You shake your head to focus. It's pointless to think about such matters at the moment. You grab a note from your pocket, unfolding it to remind yourself of who you are.
To those of you who have a significant other, I'm deeply, deeply sorry. But you must stay strong. VDI-14 has divided us all into a great civil war. There is still hope. Join the broken hearts and bring hope to the remains of humanity. Learn to embrace solitude, friends. Feel their love.
After rereading the note, you fold it back up and continue. You come across the living quarters. Instead of it being completely destroyed, the section remains relatively untouched. If any survivors are still here, they'd be in this area. You take refuge inside one of the rooms, removing your face cover. Inside the room, a bed, a weapon safe, a desk with a tape recorder, and on the desk, a large medicine bottle that's been toppled over. A closer look reveals it to be aspirin. It's empty. You take a mental note of the tape recorder on the desk. There's cassette tapes strewn about the desk in a disorganized fashion. After reorganizing them, you take a seat and load the first one in. You start to hear footsteps just outside the door. It sounds like someone walking in high heels. You tense up as it gets closer, switching off your flashlight and aiming your gun at the door. It stops at the door for what seems like an eternity. It then starts receding. You breathe a sigh of relief and press play.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm housed inside this ex-military bunker designated Site Ω-6. I'm one of the very few uninfected left in this changed world. It took a lot of convincing. I'm sure I would have been shot otherwise. Anyway, the recommendation to use these things became mandatory, so here I am. With me being a girl, you would think I'd be kept in a prison cell or something, but we're allowed to roam freely within the site. They've got us on a leash, though. I don't blame them. I'd be doing the same thing, too. The other girls don't really like it, but it's what we must do. It's certainly better than Site Beta 9's policies where they'll indiscriminately shoot any girl on sight. I get why they're doing that, but surely there's a better way to go about that, right?
A lingering, paranoid feeling overcomes you. The figure you heard earlier, you're certain it's watching you. You tense up, gripping your weapon tighter. You defensively dart your eyes around, eventually coming to thinking that whoever's down here with you is the same person in this recording. You decide against yourself on hunting down whoever's here with you. For now, you load the next tape in and press play.
I probably should have started by talking a bit more about myself. I was a former bartender before this event happened. Now I'm basically the site engineer. I've always had a knack for tinkering with things. I've been here for about 3 months, give or take. Most of the men here are mentally affected by this whole ordeal, so they try to avoid us. I try my best to cheer them up and such, but sometimes I feel like it just makes it worse. I won't lie, I really want to look for love, but under these circumstances, it's certainly gonna get me killed one day.
You become immersed with the recordings, almost forgetting about the possible danger that lingers outside the dorm room that you're in. Without much thought, you load the next tape in and press play.
I don't know who else I can talk to about this, so I'm recording it here. I've taken an interest in somebody. I can feel butterflies in my stomach and I can't stop thinking about him. I can't say who for obvious reasons. I'm certain that I'm uninfected. I know I haven't even seen chocolate or flowers since this madness started. I'm just in love with him like how a normal person would be in love with somebody. I don't know how he feels about me, but I can take a couple of guesses. And I'm pretty sure that those guesses involve wanting to put a bullet in my head. I haven't really had time to record anything. In fact, I just came back from a supply run with Keith and Michael. I'll admit, I kinda clung to Michael the entire time. If I didn't know why I was in love with him, I would have known now.
There's a short pause. Presumably, Elizabeth realized that she just gave away her crush's name.
Shit. I gave away his name. Too late now in any case. I guess I can talk more about him. It won't really matter anyway. Gathered from what I know about him, he was in the military. Now he's our soldier. The people in the military are tough, but even this is starting to take a toll on him mentally. Pair that with the fact that he was kidnapped by an infected woman at the start of the outbreak, I'm honestly surprised he hasn't broken yet. Poor guy. I just want to be there for him, but I can't even do that anymore. One of the guys will have to comfort him. I didn't really like the world before this, but it's certainly better than what we have now. This gets me thinking that, can things really go back to the way that they once were? Site Theta 2's gone. The thought of my younger brother now becoming a sex toy is just too much for me to bear. I just can't stop thinking about that outcome. I don't know what's worse. The fact that I'm never gonna see him again, or if I do see him, he'll just be a mindless husk that's sole purpose is to please some woman that has him tied up in her basement or in some abandoned warehouse. There is still hope, though. From what Claire, a former news reporter, told us, the higher-ups from the High Council have sent in resistance forces to try and liberate the site. If at any chance he's still there, I'm sure they'll find him. I never knew we had a government system of sorts. It reminds me of that SCP stuff that the guys like to talk about. I don't think Michael's doing that well. I want to talk to him, but I know what'll happen if I try. I did manage to get our site captain to talk to him, so at least there's that. Seems like life here is starting to drive him to the deep end. I can feel myself being worn down as well. I used to be all cheerful and bubbly, but now I'm not like that anymore. Is it being in this bunker for so long? Or is it the fact that I'm in love with someone and I can't tell him how I feel? Let alone the fact that all I can do is watch him suffer mentally. This isn't right. None of this is right. Why is this even happening overall? Why would something like this even happen? What gods did we piss off for this to happen? This might be my last recording. Something doesn't seem right with Claire. She apparently went missing from the expedition team while they were out. Keith found her and then they returned. Keith said that she didn't show any signs of infection. Claire's currently talking to the site captain right now. I don't know if this is related at all, but I noticed that the rations tasted a bit different. Oh, shit.
A loud door is heard opening just as the recording ended. Being that there are no other tapes, you draw up a conclusion on your mind. Lost in your thoughts, you wonder what the High Council will plan. Restore the site? Is it even possible to do so? Whatever did happen to the site inhabitants? Suddenly, the lights flicker on. Startled, you aim your weapon at the door. The next thing you hear is that same sound from the recording. Only was the vents that you hadn't noticed before. You aimed your weapon in that direction, firing shots in a bit of a panic to hopefully drive off the specter. Your bullets instead meet an empty wall. A moment passes, your body convulses, your nerves lose control. On the floor you find yourself. Footsteps approach your paralyzed body. You try to fight it with no avail. The warm embrace of a girl envelops you. Your consciousness is then seized by a hard thwack to the head. Despite being destroyed, Site Ω-6 is now your new home, binded to a bed and loved by one of its former inhabitants. You had a few precious moments of solitude in the darkness, but at the end of the tunnel, there's love.